Hey guys, how you doing? So it's been almost a week since surgery. Tomorrow will be the 1 week mark. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about whether you should get surgery, should you not get surgery. Obviously, I had surgery on both of my arms. So some of the basic stuff that you should know going into it is you lose 20 to 30% of your supination pronation strength. That's what does this. So, opening doorknobs, turning a screwdriver, even working a hammer, that could really be hindered without the surgery. And then your flexion, so moving your arm like this, you could lose up to 60% of that strength. So, what made me get the surgery the first time on my left bicep was I just didn't expect to rupture my right. So, I figured, well, I could get the surgery, have 100% function and mobility and everything with both arms. Good, great. If I had known I was going to rupture my right bicep, I might not have gotten my left one done. Just because once I ruptured my right one, it was almost like I had to do it because it's my primary arm. And I had battled back and forth a lot. It was about 2.5 weeks from rupture to surgery for me. And I went back and forth a lot because I didn't know if I wanted to do the 6 month recovery thing. I didn't know if I wanted to take 2 weeks off of work. Fortunately, my work's let me work from home this week, so I really only took off a week. I didn't know what that would look like being my dominant arm, having the pain for the first few months and things like that, and having to do rehab again. But at the end of the day, what really got me to do surgery on my right arm is I knew I would regret not getting the surgery more than I would regret having it. Right? So, not getting the surgery, I'm losing that 20 to 30% strength and my my rotation, my pronation, supination, which is kind of a big deal. I'm right-handed, so anytime I'm going to want to turn something, whether it's opening a cap, a doorknob, using a screwdriver, um, turning a dial on something, that's going to be with my right hand, even turning on a faucet. Right? We don't recognize how much our bicep really does because all of that is part of the bicep. And we don't recognize that. I mean, I didn't know that until I ruptured my left one and had that conversation with my doctor. So, that on top of losing 60% of my flexion strength. I'm 33. I've got three pretty young kids who are very active and wild. They like to wrestle, be thrown around, picked up, carried, all of those things. Plus I love weight training. Something that I've done since I was a kid. I boxed in high school, played football and semi-pro football. Now I'm into more endurance sports. All of those things of being an athlete, I want full function and strength. I always think strength training will be a part of my regimen, even as an endurance athlete. I want that strength and function. And being young with young kids, it really, helped push that for me. Also, the hobbies that I have, motorcycles and um, fishing, right? So I do a lot of my own work on my bike and my truck. So if I'm working on a wrench or something, I need that pronation and supination. Also, God forbid, knock on wood, if I ever drop the bike, I want to feel comfortable that I'm going to be able to catch it, or if not catch it, at least be able to pick it up, if it goes down, which, again, knock on wood, I haven't done yet. And it's been 5 years, so fingers crossed. But even fishing, right? Um, with fishing, if I set a hook or I'm having to rotate my arm to fight the fish, then I want to have full strength and function. And, my page is paint the bait. I paint a lot of lures, and so I need that rotation to be able to get different angles on lures as I'm painting, even with the airbrush and stuff. Excuse me. So for me, for my hobbies, my lifestyle, the fact that I'm young with kids, it made a lot of sense for me to go ahead and get the surgery. But you really have to look at your life and your hobbies and your responsibilities as a family man or woman or as an employee, whatever it is, to figure out if you need it, right? Like if I didn't have those hobbies or my kids were older or I wasn't really into weight training, it might not have made sense. Most of my work is done at a desk. So I don't need to lift things for my job. If your job is something where you're lifting and moving a bunch of stuff, it's a very laborious job, it's probably more important for you to have that surgery than somebody like me who works at a desk. If you're over 55 and retired, it might not make sense. You might not need it. It might not impact your life enough for it to matter. And even if you're younger, it might not impact your life. I mean, you can have a fully functional and happy life, a totally normal life with a torn bicep and probably never know much difference, right? It might not be enough for you to even notice that it's torn other than the deformity. And maybe that deformity is important for you. Maybe you don't want to have a deformed looking bicep. Maybe you want your biceps to look normal. That might be a big factor for you. For me, I didn't really care as much about that as much as being able to get the most out of my hobbies that I wanted to get out of them and to be able to be as active with my kids as they want me to be, right? My oldest is only 5 and she still loves being picked up, carried around, thrown around. So, with 3 kids that enjoy that, I wanted to have the most strength that I could have in those situations. So it's really important to sit down and really talk with your doctor, talk with your surgeon about your lifestyle, your hopes for the future, your work style, all of these different things, and see if surgery is one really important for you to have to be able to continue that, or if the look of it is important for you, or the feel of it even, because it is painful. Like I went 2.5 weeks, like I said, without the surgery, and there was some pain there. I'm sure that probably would have gone away if I'd never gotten the surgery, but it might not have. I don't know. And it is pretty important to get in and talk to your surgeon right away. Like I had my left bicep done 10 days after the rupture, my right one a week and a half or 2.5 weeks, but you've really got a 3 to 4 week window before the muscle's been contracted too long, nutrients aren't getting to the tendon, so it could be dying off and bad things like that. It's really important to get into the doctor and get this figured out, whether surgery is right for you or maybe you don't need surgery, what a surgery with your lifestyle and your obligations and your hobbies and things like that, things that you love to do, is surgery going to help keep that at a high level, or is it going to matter either way? Because if it doesn't matter, then maybe save the time, because you also have to consider you're going to have to take at least a week off of work, or if your work allows you to work from home, then that's even better. But the first 2 whole weeks you're stuck in this cast where your lifting restraints is 0. You can't lift anything for 2 weeks. Then you get the cast or the brace, and that's nothing heavier than like a cup of coffee, right? Then you have physical therapy or orthopedic therapy, or occupational therapy, whichever your doctor orders for you. That, for me, last time was only 4 or 5 weeks, but he had ordered 12 weeks. So I was, above where I was expected to be, but that might not be the case in your situation, and you're doing once a week therapy for 2 weeks or 12 weeks. So that's something to consider, as well as the fact that it's going to be 6 months before you're really feeling any kind of normal in that arm, and probably up to 7 to 8 months before the pain is just completely gone. It took about 7 months for my left bicep to, not even the bicep, my left arm to not have any pain. Once the surgery was done and everything, none of the pain in the bicep it was all in the forearm, like in here, in this area, and I had a lot of numbness right here, and the numbness didn't go away probably for 6 months, and that's just a weird feeling. But the pain was there pretty constant for 6 or 7 months. It had been 8 months before I ruptured my right from this surgery to this rupture, and I had just gotten to a point where my arm felt pretty much normal in every way that it could. When I first started lifting weights again in September, I had surgery in June, so like 3 months later, I was doing 2 sets of 10 reps, and if it hurt, I stopped. I was done. I might take a minute off and then, go back and try again, see if it felt any different, but I wasn't pushing the issue. If it hurt, I wasn't going to, force anything, and that's probably what I'll do with this arm as well. But at the 6 month, 8 month mark, it had gotten easier to do more reps. The pain was less and less. Now, even at, excuse me, I need some water. Now, even at the 7 month mark, there was a lot of pain in the forearm with doing lat pulls, things like that. And there was still some pain in like an easy bar curl where my hand is a little bit more rotated out. There was still some pain with that. But for the most part, I'd gotten back to 100%, except strength. Strength was still really lacking from where it was before the rupture, and I still fatigued really fast in the bicep. But that's to be expected. So, again, just take all of that into consideration, your lifestyle, your hobbies, your work, your family. Are you willing to take that 6 months of recovery time and, up to a year before you're 100% back to normal? It's a long time. So you might not be into that, and that might not be for you. It might not be important for the things that you do or want to do. And again, it might be very important. So my recommendation, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon, have a very open and honest conversation with your doctor about your lifestyle and the things that you enjoy doing and the things that you might want to start doing in your work. And make an educated guess on what's best for you, and best of luck. Hopefully, if you're going through this, you do what feels good for you. Like I said, for me, the biggest thing was I knew I would probably regret not having the surgery, but after 6 months, I would not regret having it. And that was really the determining factor for me, along with the fact that I'm, young and I've got young kids that like to roughhouse, and I wanted to keep that, going and be able to do that with them. So, if that is a way for you to kind of figure it out, would you regret not having the surgery more than actually having it? That might be a good way to figure out, if this is something that you need to do or not. Because you can have a very long, full, functional, happy life with a torn bicep, and as long as you're okay with the loss of strength, the loss of rotational strength and flexion and, things like that, the deformity, if you're okay with all of those things and your work and your family life and your hobbies don't require you to have full function or as close to full function as possible, then maybe surgery isn't for you, and you could be totally good, just going on with life as status quo, and that's great. But I would definitely recommend talking to your surgeon openly and honestly about all of those things and see if surgery is what you should do or not. But anyway, I'll check back in tomorrow with a 1 week check-in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you want to get notified of all these videos. I plan on doing them for at least the first 6 months regularly, just so that everybody can kind of see what that first 6 months post surgery is like. All right, catch you on the next one.